Venture is a specific type of beast. The quote I'll often use is, lions only eat meat. You could build the most beautiful salad in the world for a lion, and you're the one that's going to get eaten. So you don't serve up a salad to this particular beast. You only serve up meat. And meat for venture is the possibility of a public company. You know, we see a lot of good businesses. Great, good to know. Maybe very good businesses, maybe great businesses. Venture was not built to fund any of those. Venture was built to fund fucking phenomenal businesses. So the thing you give up when you think about venture, first of all, you have to be a match. You have to be meat to that particular lion. But you also have to realize that if you're valid for raising that category of capital, you are going to give up control step by step. The biggest thing I learned when I got here, I spent a bunch of time, as I mentioned, talking to all these folks in venture. The first thing I learned was every firm has its own DNA. If you meet two partners at one firm and you like them both, you're probably going to like them all. If you meet one partner in a firm and they're an asshole, it's unlikely the next person you meet isn't going to be one too. So you can't judge a book by its cover, but you can usually judge a firm by any of its partners. They also are super time constrained and entirely ADD and just ready to move on to the next thing if you don't intrigue them. Which, going back to my elevator pitch point, you grab their attention soon and you keep it, or they just lose interest and find an excuse to leave the room. You know, the normal model in Silicon Valley for fundraising, and it's a little different in other communities, New York's a little more aggressive as an example, any round consumes about, the new player is going to want to buy about 20% of your company, right? So in a typical seed round, you give up 20% of your company. Anyway, my point being, on the sort of seed 20%, A 20%, B 20%, you're going to lose control of your board in almost every instance, not except in some very rare cases that doesn't happen, and you're going to get significantly diluted. You have to have an enormous outcome to have something wonderful happen at the end as well now. Here's all the businesses I ever built. Double the business every year. Double the business every year. Isn't that great? Nice curve. That's a lifestyle business. I hadn't heard that term until I moved here. I find it a bit dismissive and almost insulting, but it's the term. You can make a lot of money growing a business that doubles its business every year. Now, if you have the whole, everybody knows the story of the chessboard and the piece of rice. Yes, exponential all the way to the end of time, you can have huge businesses, but 100,000 in revenue to 200 to 400 to 800, or a million to 2 to 4 to 8 to 16, that's all very nice. Don't raise venture for that. Venture does not want that. Venture wants this. And this kind of growth is incredibly hard to achieve or even have the possibility of creating. But when you do have that opportunity, that's when venture makes a lot of sense. Because velocity is the drug of venture capital. You know what a venture capitalist's real job is? And getting to know them all, they'll eventually come to terms with this about 6 to 12 months in the job. Think about it this way. Your job is what you do all day long. What do venture capitalists do all day long if they're good enough to be honest with people? They say no. Their job is to say no. They say no for a whole year. Because a great venture capitalist will do 1 or 2 Series A's a year. By the way, the other job, the true job of venture capitalist, the only thing I need to do in my time as a VC to matter to my LPs, I need to be the one that returns the fund. The whole fund and more. Fight for the thing that you need to achieve and let the people that match up to that desire be the ones that take part in your business. Because when you convince yourself that there's a reason to tell another story, to raise a different type of capital, you are making your own little dance with the devil. In this case, it's not an evil devil. It's a devil that has a very crystalline set of needs, and your needs need to match up to theirs. And so I would encourage you to think a lot about whether what you need is a multi-billion-dollar public company, because if you don't, then you don't want people that need that. Because that $100 million outcome that you might think is the world's best thing ever is not material to a VC, and these days I think the chance that they veto you or fire you is much higher than it used to be. So make sure if you're interested in meat, you go to Meat Eaters, and if you're interested in salad, find a vegetarian.